Listen, but don't be shocked. This is what's happening in every industry in Xiamen now. The city is going through a makeover, tearing down all the metal sheds. Most physical stores are barely surviving, especially clothing stores. A lot of store owners say it's like they're living in solitude, barely seeing anyone all day. Restaurants are putting up signs to sell their space, and if they can't sell, they just close down. Real estate prices have been falling too. There are lots of unsold new homes, and the prices for second-hand homes have plummeted to the point where there are no buyers. Xiamen's population is decreasing, and so are the rentals, particularly some second-hand homeowners who are now enduring losses, and some landlords who even try to raise the rent on their tenants. Bigger companies are laying off staff, and smaller ones that can't cope are shutting down. Many who can't make money have turned to delivery jobs or driving for ride-sharing services, but even then, you risk getting fined for riding an electric bike. Prices keep rising, but wages stay the same. Imagine buying a home at 30,000 yuan per square meter and earning just 3,000 yuan a month. In short, it's us, the ordinary workers, who are out of luck. This was once Xiamen, a beautiful coastal garden city that was a top choice for both domestic and international tourists. The city used to be bustling, from the snack streets to the beachfronts. But now, Xiamen's streets are almost empty of tourists, and even locals are rare to see. This popular tourist city is ending in a very bleak way. The lady in the video is a local from Xiamen. She's struggling to adapt to the now empty and quiet streets that used to be lively. She asks, "Can someone tell me why Xiamen, which is usually so pleasant, is so deserted this year?" Many locals believe the downturn is due to the national news report about a price gouging incident in Gulangyu Island in Xiamen, which made many tourists hesitant to visit. The lady mentioned, after the news came out during the Dragon Boat Festival, Gulangyu Island, which used to be packed, saw fewer people. The popular fishing village of Zhongshan Road, Shaopo Way, and the island ring road are all very quiet. When will Xiamen's tourism warm up again? Another local complained.
We keep saying not to rip off tourists. Just one incident in Gulangyu Island has scared people away from other attractions, quieting the entire city. No tourists means no spending, and the honest businesses are losing how much in rent? The tourist season is right around the corner, but Xiamen is still so quiet. What do we do?
In June, the national media's coverage of the price gouging incident in Xiamen made headlines. Despite being a national 5A rated tourist site and a World Cultural Heritage Site, Gulangyu Island was labeled by tourists as full of traps, expensive, and a poor experience. A tourist who visited Xiamen shared, "I just wanted to see the ocean, but ended up feeling completely cheated." Online searches yield many Xiamen travel caution tips, further cementing the stereotype of Xiamen being a tourist trap. The government's inaction on the issue of ripping off tourists has also become an unfortunate feature of Xiamen's tourism. A mainland Chinese journalist conducted an undercover investigation in Xiamen's Gulangyu area. She found numerous consumer traps starting right at the Xiamen ferry terminal. A line of taxis was parked by the roadside at the terminal, but these drivers were not there to pick up passengers in the usual sense. They were there to overcharge them. As soon as they spotted tourists coming out of the terminal, they would swarm up and promote package tickets from the tourist center. They frequently used words like free and discount as bait to entice tourists to buy their recommended package tickets worth 168 yuan, claiming it included numerous attractions. However, all the attractions included in the official package ticket could be purchased for only 35 yuan. If the tourists fell for it and bought the package, the sellers would make a profit of over 100 yuan. The traps didn't stop there. The taxis and package deals were to draw people in. The real traps came later. After following the tourist center's guide to the island, the guide didn't take them to sightseeing spots, but instead kept taking them into shops. Following the guide's suggestion, the journalist bought 2 pieces of sea pearl jewelry, only to have them tested later and discover they were freshwater pearls. A significant price difference lies between the two, revealing the profit made. Besides fake pearls, there were instances of dead seafood being sold as live. To learn more, the journalist, posing as a guide, struck up a conversation with a seafood restaurant owner. The owner told her that while the normal price for a lobster was 398 yuan, they could offer it to the guides for 298 yuan. However, the freshness of the 298 lobster wouldn't match that of the 398 yuan one. It might not be live, yet it would be sold as such. By offering it at 298, tourists felt that they were getting a deal and were more likely to buy, with the restaurant kicking back a cut to the guides after the sale. After the incidents, both scammed tourists and the undercover journalist reported these scams to several government departments in Xiamen, like the Market Supervision Bureau and the Bureau of Culture and Tourism. However, the responses they received were typical bureaucratic replies. "This isn't our responsibility," or "We've already reported it." During negotiations, an official from the Xiamen Market Supervision Office even said, "We can't control how scenic spots set their ticket prices, nor can we regulate taxi behavior. I've even complained to the mayor's hotline myself, but it was useless." Even locals in Xiamen say, "We locals don't go to places like Gulangyu because we can't escape being ripped off either." Behind the many problems in China's tourism industry, in addition to government corruption and ineffective oversight, the economic downturn also plays a significant role in fostering these illegal activities. The economic situation in Xiamen this year has been really tough. Many people from Long have come to Xiamen Special Economic Zone to run small, affordable stir-fry restaurants. Business was already tough last year, but it's even harder this year. The better stir-fry restaurants can only make a maximum of only a little over 1,000 yuan in daily sales. After deducting rent, utilities, and other costs, they're barely making any money. Most shops are only making a few hundred yuan a day, which is essentially just enough to pay the rent to the landlords in Xiamen. Businesses closely tied to the tourism industry, like the small stir-fry restaurants, are countless. At the beginning of this year, under the influence of the downturn in the tourism industry, these businesses were almost on the verge of closing down. CCTV's report of the tourist traps was just the last straw. Amidst this economic slump, a large number of people have lost their jobs. I've been laid off for over a month now in Xiamen, and I need over 1,000 yuan each month just for food and rent. If I don't find a job soon, I don't know how I'll survive. Just looking at the bustling city, I feel disconnected. Life is ironic. You never know what the next moment holds. Just a few months ago, I was earning over 10,000 yuan, and now have no income. I wonder how many others, like me at 35, have been laid off. At this age, companies think you're too old, and the state thinks you're too young for retirement. Is there really no place for a 35-year-old? Another man, also 35, was laid off and has become a part of the unemployed masses.
I was laid off last month. Now I'm in Xiamen with no car, no house, only debt. At 35, it's like I've committed a crime. Does no one dare to hire us? I've sent out loads of resumes on PhD recruitment sites, mostly to no response. I was excited about an interview today. I went through one round with the supervisor and two with HR, who even asked for my feedback and suggestions. I thought I was going to be hired, but just as I got in the car, I received a text saying I didn't pass the interview. I nearly broke down.
In CCTV's tourist trap expose, the private car drivers at the ferry terminal were unemployed individuals without proper operating licenses. In situations where you have no job, no income, but a family that relies on your salary to survive, such illegal but lucrative businesses seem like the best option to stay afloat. At the end of May this year, the Xiamen Municipal Statistics Bureau published data on key economic sectors in Xiamen from January to April. The city's industrial output value increased by 7.5% year-on-year, a rise of 17.6 percentage points from the same period last year, with pillar industries growing in share. In terms of consumption, it helped increase the total retail sales of consumer goods above the designated size by 5.1 percentage points. The city achieved over 24 billion yuan in digital sales through the internet, an increase of 10.9%. The government also showcased data related to Xiamen's industrial exports, industrial investment, and emerging consumption from January to April. More than 70% of industries grew, with industrial export delivery values increasing by 6.3% year-on-year, up 23.6% from the previous year. In terms of industrial investment, the city completed fixed asset investments, growing by 3.1% year-on-year, an increase of 1.6 percentage points from last year. Industrial investments grew by 21%. Contributing 23.5% to the city's total fixed asset investment. In terms of new consumption, the city's total retail sales of consumer goods grew by 4% year-on-year, up 0.9 percentage points from the last year. From the economic data released by Fujian Province, Xiamen is ranked first. From January to April 2024, the total import and export volume reached over 300 billion yuan, almost half of the entire province, ranking first. Although it leads the charts, the total import and export volume in April experienced a decline, falling by 6.4%, the lowest growth rate in the province. Looking at the data released by the officials, it seems that Xiamen's economy is thriving. However, the city, portrayed as significantly improving economically, is experiencing deserted streets, massive layoffs, a slump in the tourism sector, and a surge in defaulted properties. This bizarre divergence is also evident in the economic figures. For the first quarter of 2024, Xiamen's GDP growth was officially announced at 7.02%. However, the growth in the three carriages of GDP, exports, increased by only 1.6%, fixed investment by only 4.2%, and consumer spending growth by merely 3.5%, all of which are significantly lower than the overall GDP growth rate. Additionally, fiscal revenues plummeted by 19%. Inconsistencies are also apparent when looking at the data from 2023. During the first three quarters of 2023, Xiamen's total GDP increase was only 97 billion yuan, but in the fourth quarter alone, it surged to 166 billion yuan. Similar anomalies are observed in economic data of Fujian province and its capital, Fuzhou. In the first three quarters of 2023, Fujian's GDP increased by 1.3 trillion yuan, nearly half of which was attributed to Fuzhou. Yet, in the fourth quarter, Fujian's GDP unexpectedly decreased by 81 billion yuan, and Fuzhou's dramatically dropped to just 22 billion yuan. These drastic fluctuations are quite astonishing. Such dramatic changes in economic data raise suspicions of manipulation. Either the government has tampered with the figures, or there are significant issues in the economies of Fujian cities, Fuzhou and Xiamen. Speaking of manipulating economic data, this is a well-trodden path for the Chinese government. The ultimate goal of falsifying data is likely to cover up the poor state of China's economy. The shift in Chinese tourist travel spending habits also reflects the current state of China's economy. A report by CNBC mentioned a survey conducted by American consultancy firm Oliver Wyman in May. The survey found that among Chinese high-income households that traveled abroad last year, only 14% plan to travel internationally again in 2024. Among those who chose not to travel abroad, most said they would consider domestic travel instead. These surveyed households typically have a monthly income of about 30,000 yuan, approximately $50,000 annually. The primary reason for choosing domestic travel was the rich variety of options within China, followed by the high cost of international travel. Oliver Wyman Consulting highlighted that while the average cost of domestic travel within mainland China is less than 1,000 yuan per person, traveling to places like Hong Kong or Japan could cost several thousand yuan, which is a significant amount for families with a monthly income of around 30,000 yuan. Many families, apart from their daily expenses, have to manage monthly mortgage and car payments. Although their earnings might seem high, their disposable income is quite limited. Given the immense pressure of loans and the challenging job market where layoffs are common and reemployment is difficult, Chinese citizens are compelled to downgrade their consumption to cope with life. Now, international travel has been downgraded to domestic, and it may eventually downgrade further to provincial or even local travel, ending up with people just walking around their neighborhoods. On June 14th, the People's Bank of China released financial statistics that echoed this economic situation. At the end of May, the broad money supply, M2, stood at 301 trillion yuan, approximately 42 trillion US dollars, growing at a historical low of 7%. The narrow money supply, M, which includes cash in circulation and demand deposits, decreased by 4.2% to 65 trillion yuan, about 9 trillion US dollars, marking the largest decline on record. The cash in circulation, M0, was 11.7 trillion yuan, about 1.6 trillion US dollars, up 11.7%, with net cash issuance in the first 5 months amounting to 336 billion yuan, about 50 billion US dollars. Here, M0 represents cash in circulation, M1 includes cash plus checkable deposits and other highly liquid assets, and M2 includes M1 plus savings accounts, time deposits, and money market instruments. An increase in M2 indicates weaker liquidity and a more conservative approach to money management. The key indicator watched by the industry is the growth rate of M1 and the spread between them, known as the scissor gap. When M1 grows faster than M2 and the gap widens, it suggests that the market has flexible capital operations and an increasing willingness to consume, benefiting businesses in finding new opportunities and encouraging investment. Conversely, when M2 grows faster than M1 and the gap narrows, it reflects a contraction in real businesses and consumption, indicating a decline in economic vitality. Currently, the scissors gap in China's economic data has narrowed to 11.2%, reflecting a significant contraction. Professor Xie Tian from the School of Business at the University of South Carolina believes that a faster growth in M2 compared to M1 suggests that people are saving more rapidly, reflecting a lack of confidence in future economic conditions. People tend to save as a precaution against potential crises when their confidence is severely lacking. Moreover, when people keep their money in bank accounts instead of investing or spending it, it does not help stimulate economic growth. This index indeed reflects the grim state of the Chinese economy. Under the dual pressures of a rapidly declining economy and people's reluctance to spend, the collapse of the tourism industry and its related sectors in tourist cities like Sanya and Xiamen is an expected outcome. To salvage the economy, the Chinese government has introduced a series of economic stimulus policies since May, including issuing 1 trillion yuan, 138 billion US dollars in long-term government bonds, investing 344 billion yuan, 47.4 billion US dollars in semiconductor production, and allocating 300 billion yuan, 41 billion US dollars for state-owned enterprises to purchase unsold residential properties. Despite these measures, the Chinese economy continues to visibly decline, as evident from the deserted scenes in Xiamen at the start of the video. In an attempt to revive the tourism sector, the Chinese government has utilized media attention to help local governments to stimulate the faltering tourism industry. Examples include promoting Zibo barbecue and Harbin ice sculptures. However, while media hype draws tourists to different locales, it fails to sustain tourism or economic activity in the long term and does not fundamentally solve China's economic difficulties.